This is by far the most exciting mod review I've done in a very long time. I'm StratGamer, covering strategy, simulation, city building games, from game reviews, tutorials, guides, let's plays, and even mod reviews like today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, don't hesitate to press the red button below so you never miss another episode. Let's dive into Jacob's Collection. This mod used to be called Pescetarians, but since then has been expanded into a collection of mods. You can activate one or all of them. If you don't know how to download and activate mods, don't hesitate to check the video that will appear now at the top or will be in the description below, where I show how to use the mod loader. These mods has everything: new tiers of population, new production chains, and new game mechanics. But before we dive into new population tiers, let's actually talk about an old population tier that got an upgrade. You can see all here, normal workers, it's 20 of population. It has the typical goods of market to schools. But one thing I'm sure you realize already is instead of having just the upgrade and downgrade button, now you have a skyscraper button. This mod enables you to upgrade your workers to skyscrapers workers to make sure you can get more density of population into your workers districts. To upgrade, you don't even need elevators, so you don't need the latest DLC, and when you do it, you get new visual that's a bit higher. That is your level 1. That comes with new goods. We'll talk about them. But it doesn't stop there. You can actually continue to upgrade into the second level. One thing to note there is you can still press U to upgrade your workers into artisans. You can still press I. One thing to note though is that there is a known bug that sometimes the arrow doesn't show even if it's possible to do it. So for example, for this one, there's no arrow, but you can see you can do it, and if you do it, it will work. And you can see that level 2 is not significantly higher, but you can definitely see the difference. This is level 1, this is level 2, and level 2. Of course, with this upgrade comes not just new production, but also an increase in your population. Normal worker house is 20, then you get to 30 in level 1, and in level 2 you get to 40. That's really good again if you want to increase your density and maybe also the visual of your workers. And you can also change the paint building here with 3 different colors of the roof. You can see here red, blue, and black. We'll talk about the new goods in a second, but first let's look at the other completely new tier of population, or tiers of population. You can find it in your farmer tab, or if you are in the building sorting by types, in your city here, you can see these were the upgradable worker, and here is the pescetarians. Pescetarians do not eat red meat, but they do still eat fish. And this creates sort of a parallel type of workforce. You know, it starts at farmers, you can then upgrade it up to engineers. So it will add workforce to your typical workforce, but with just different resources. So you can have both in your city, or you can have only one if you prefer, and maybe only pescetarians if you don't want to eat red meat. So as I said, you know, this is the pescetarian residences. You can see some here, but I can also put a new one here just to show you. They also do come with a new public service building, which is the community center. You can see here, sort of the market equivalent. You can upgrade them. You see the button here. It goes then to workers. You can see a lot of workers around here. And then when you're done with workers, you can also go to artisans, and you can see some of those artisans here. Another element very interesting with artisans is they have different roofs. The green and the blue are definitely the one that stand out for me. But again, this enables you to really bring a lot of variety in your city and novelty. As I said, there's also a lot of new game mechanics, and you may have seen some already with the icons above. But before we get to that, let's look at all of the new production chains or new resources that you need. Starting with the skyscraper workers. They need all of the normal ones up to the school, but then they will also need cheese, tools, electricity. So electricity is not a new one, but usually they don't need it. And then 2 other new ones, which are suits, not the same suits that you know, new suits, and similarly canned fish instead of canned food. If you are in the building sorting by progress, you can see 2 of them here, the cheese and the tools, but unfortunately for some reason you cannot see the other 2. So I suggest you actually go building sorting by type, then in your consumable you will see them all. See the cheese, the tools, the suits, and the canned fish. Let's take a quick look at all of these production. So this is the first one. Start with a milk farm that you can see here. You can have a silo like all of those animal farms, 4 modules, you know, classic 30 seconds, 20 farmers. Just a nice new building. And then it goes into the cheese dairy just next door that has also 30 seconds, does need worker and not farmers. It can be improved by electricity. Then we move into the tools. It will need a lot of old resources like your iron and your coal and then your lumberjack hut to get some wood. Then gets into the tool workshop. If you don't know about the new Eden Burning scenario, it came with game update 13, so it's for free. If you haven't bought Anno in the past, you will get that. There is a lot of details on my channel around the new Eden Burning scenario. Don't hesitate to check that out. But anyway, the tool workshop, 1 minute, improved by electricity, needs a few workers. You can see it here. This suit is not the tailor suit that you know from M-Pesa, that actually can only be built over there. Now these suits you can build completely in the old world. Start with the M farm here. It's an asset quite similar to the op farm you can see here, but actually different. You know, the colors are different, fields are completely different. And then that M farm delivers M2, this linen cloth maker you can see here, which looks a bit like your work clothes factory. Then you add some wool into this magnificent suit factory here. It's close to the multi-factory building, but with very cool additions like the suit here. And then lastly, your canned fish is quite similar to the canned food, but with fish, right? Because they don't eat meat. So you're going to take fish, you're also going to take an all-charred olives, we're gonna talk about this one just now, and some iron for the box. On the other hand, for the happiness need, there is actually no new things. Now let's move to the Pescetarian's new goods. For the basic needs of the farmer, it's not new goods, except for the community center that we've placed here. It's fish and potatoes that you already know. On the happiness side, on the other hand, there is one new good called the wooden accessories. Wooden accessories are pretty simple. You just need wood from your classic lumberjack hut, and then it goes into those wood workshop, which take 30 seconds, 30 farmers, and can be improved by electricity. Now moving to the Pescetarian workers, we do get a few new goods. We've already talked about the cheese, but on top of that you also need some olive soap from this olive soap factory here, an asset quite similar to the normal soap factory that is here, but with a different color, and it needs olive instead of coming from the tallow of the pigs. These olives says orchard, but it's actually more like a farm, because when you place it, then you need to place modules like you have to in a farm, and you can use the tractors as you've seen. On top of all these basic needs, there is also in the happiness tab, you need tools that we've discussed for workers, skyscrapers workers, and also bottled beer. Instead of normal beer, now we're going to make bottled beer, which is a bit more complex, but quite similar. As you can see, the bottled beer breweries are here, very similar asset to the normal brewery. You still need several op farms because it's 1 minute and 30 seconds. You'll still need your malt that comes from the grain here, but on top of that you'll also need a glass maker which uses sand to make the actual bottles. And then lastly, for the Pescetarian artisans, they will continue to need cheese and soap, olive soap, sorry, but they will also need the suits, the new suits that we've seen for workers, and the canned fish. They will also need typical goods of artisans like the sewing machine, or later on the university. And like all of the other buildings in Anno, they unlock progressively when you reach milestones of population. For example, the potato here for the farmers unlocks when you have 100 farmers, Pescetarians. The olive oil soap, for example, on here unlock when you have 250 workers, Pescetarians. And as you've seen here, something like the sewing machine only unlocks when you have 250 artisans, Pescetarians, and this one only 900. That's the typical progression where you need to grow your town before all of the resources are needed and available. But wait, this is not all. We now have two completely new game mechanics to discuss. The first one is linked only to the Pescetarians, where you get a bonus to have all of the tiers mixed. In the classic tiers, usually it's actually easier to just separate all of the tiers and have like a neighborhood for your workers, a neighborhood for your artisans, because they need different public services and things like this. For the Pescetarians, they always need the community center, so it's good to mix them all up. But on top of that, if you do mix them up, then you get this bonus here. Basically, as it reads here, Pescetarians enjoy living together across tiers. So when you have farmers Pescetarians not too far away from worker Pescetarian, worker Pescetarians residencies will get a farmer workforce bonus of +6. You'll get basically 16 workers, and on top of that you will get 6 workforce for your farmers, which is really interesting. And on top of that, for artisan it's even stronger, where you get 10 farmers and 4 workers. So that's a really interesting mechanic to force you to change a bit your layout. And the second mechanic is even stronger to force you to change a bit your typical layout, and it works for the Pescetarians, for the new skyscraper workers, but also for all of your old tiers. For example, this is a normal worker house. This is not a skyscraper worker, and you see this new icon here, which you probably never seen before, saying nearby production. Reduced consumption of 30% for the workloads. Basically, this new mechanic is if your production buildings are close enough to the people who are using those goods, then they get a reduced consumption. It will force us to revamp completely all of our layouts to integrate production inside the city. That's why I find this is super exciting. It works for many productions like workclothes, schnapps, sausage, bread, beer, canned food, sewing machines, and fur coats, as well as all of the new productions. For example, this worker here is getting the boost from the cheese, which is just across the road, and the tool, which is over here. Now you maybe don't wondering, how do I plan for this? Well, you have two ways to do it. One is if you click on the building, you will see which houses are impacted by it. You can also see this radius when you're placing the building to plan for it. So again, this has to be one of the most exciting mods out there today. I will post in the description below, of course, the link to download it. A huge thanks to Jacobs for creating this mod and sharing it with the community. I'd love to see more updates of this. I'd love to test it. Don't hesitate to share in the comments below if you're excited by this mod, if you're going to test it, maybe start a completely new game, and I hope to see you next time.